type of money that can only be spent for a specific number of reasons. And some worry about that state control or whatever. But like in this particular narrow use case, you want to give checks to individuals to get the economy moving again.
Yeah.
So if you think of programmable money that expires if you don't spend it.
This afternoon, the Secretary General and Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, will witness the signing of a memorandum of understanding on a strategic partnership between the UN and the World Economic Forum, which outlines areas of cooperation to deepen engagement between the two institutions and to jointly accelerate the implementation of the 2030 agenda.
Again, I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people.
Talk about Bitcoin. So what's your basic thesis? You saw Kathy Wood. I think, what'd she say, 800,000 or something by, I guess, the end of the decade, maybe. But even by 2025, I think he was talking about like 300,000 or 400,000. Is that possible?
I think our idea of network value for Bitcoin and scarcity still argues that if this isn't an upcycle, her numbers are correct. Something in the 200,000 plus range. Some of the traditional players that have a lot of credibility, like the BlackRock and the Citadels coming into Bitcoin. So I do think there's reasons to be optimistic.
People still have I still hear pet rock all the time. Beanie Babies.
Yes.
I hear.
Yeah, that's
Greater
right.
fool theory, I hear. No inherent value. Still hear all that stuff. Rat poison.
Yeah, or it's backed by nothing. And
right.
I think more and more traditional financial players realize that, the entire financial system is really, anchored by trust and trust in a system and also sort of the network value, whether it's a dollar or, FANG stock prices. And I think even, credit derivatives. And I think increasingly that explains why Bitcoin, has held its levels and could be rising.
Well, you always, look, let's go to something that's a hot button issue right now. The potential combination of regional banks,
right.
that mid-tier banks, which virtually everyone agrees needs to happen. The question you have is, okay, if I announce a deal, is it going to go through? And if it's not going to go through, you are putting your company at risk. And we're hearing all of this noise, but what we're not hearing from the federal financial regulators is we're actually going to make these deals, make decisions on these deals in a predictable way and in an expedient way. It's both time and whether it's actually going to happen. So if you actually want to see the consolidation that we all think is necessary in the regional and small bank, you actually need to demonstrate that you're going to give people an answer, and that answer is predictable.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, when you listen to Tom Lee, he is just like Jim Cramer. He's only going to give you some of the truth. That's why he's on CNBC. And guys, we know every time Bitcoin made a run this year, we saw the manipulation. And it's no difference with the BlackRock ETF announcement. Now, guys, we have Jay Clayton, and what he said out his mouth is unbelievable. We know the consolidation that needs to happen in the regional banks. Guys, we need more small banks, not less banks. And we know every issue that has been caused, you can point to the Fed. But we had Jay Clayton right in the FDIC meeting when the lady states they've been planning this for 10 years. And guys, the NWO causes the problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. They printed all this money, bought in all the technology, caused all this inflation. Now we have the regional banks crumbling. And we know once the regional banks crumble, it's going to cause mass layoffs. And that's the reason why CNBC keeps bringing up what? Universal basic income. And we know trials are going on around the globe. You're going to get that free money airdrop. You have 3 to 6 months to spend it, or poof, it's gone. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And what's going to replace humanity? That's right, the robots, algorithms, and drones. And we have the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, says you watch too many movies. There's no way the AI can replace humanity. But guys, we know all about the supercomputers. we know we can go all the way back to Clayton, where we were giving the supercomputers to China. And guys, remember, the brain is nothing but software. And these big corporations have been collecting all of this data. And we know who controls the data controls the world. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
The city of Stockton in 2019 piloted an experiment on universal basic income. It gave 125 city residents, all making below $46,000 a year, $500 a month for 2 years. And then after the first year, Jimmy John, what they found is that participants saw a 12% increase in full-time employment, and the rates of depression and anxiety declined, that the majority of the $500 was spent on food, clothes, auto care, and utilities. To be clear, universal basic income means it goes to everybody, not a certain group of people, that the individuals in the household get it, not just the household, and that there is no tit for tat. You don't have to prove that you're working or that you're not using drugs or whatever in order to get that income. A 12% increase in full-time employment.
But when people say that AI is going to take over humanity, it's going to...
They've watched too many movies.
But what is that, though?
That's a movie.
But what is the thinking that gets you there? What would have to happen?
So here's the assumptions, and this is all speculation. First, you have to have memory, you have to have planning, and you have to stop hallucinating. You also have to be current. Under that scenario, you get and you say to the system, learn everything. And it learns everything, and then eventually it learns that you're less important than it. And it takes electricity away from you because it needs electricity. That's the movie. The real scenario goes something like this. At some point, these things will have human-like capabilities. They don't today. And at some point, now this is years away, they'll be able to communicate with each other. That's called superintelligence.
Everyone should be able to inspect the code and understand it, while these other services may be a black box.
So we have always had a tension in our industry between centralized and decentralized and open source and closed source. I think the frontier models, these really expensive ones, are not going to be released to the public. You're going to use an API. And the reason is there's just too much money in them. I don't think it makes sense for those businesses to just give it away. We'll see what they do. Right. On open source, there are now startups that are going to build open source models that are competitive with the Llama product from Facebook. These are order 100 billion parameter models. And then their business model is to also release the open source model and then work with a company for their proprietary data and get a lot of money for that. I think that one's going to work. So that's an example of a new strategy that's just emerged.
Right. Is a level of concern you have, like a big level of concern. So what is the immediate risk in front of us?
The biggest concern that everyone in the industry has is that these huge models essentially have polymathic capabilities in places that are dangerous, like synthetic biology or cyber and so forth, that without the appropriate guardrails, technically called AI safety, if those are not in place, they can be misused. If you look at GPT-4, for example, they did a really good job of putting guardrails around the system. The raw model is much more powerful than the one you're playing with. That's a problem we're solving.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust. And we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate. Not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.